Hello everybody, my name's ArbieG and welcome to today's video. Today we are back at the VW Beetle Championship for the Amigos Racing team. This is going to be round 5 or round 9 and 10 depending on which way you want to slice it. I go by the weeks we meet, not by the races we do. For two 20-minute sprint races in Gr.3 Beetles. You can see the standings there on the right. We're in tier 2, so kind of we're in 13th place overall, but in terms of what tier 2, we're in 4th place behind Dan, Legion, Red, and we've just got Lay's 1 star 1 point behind us, so we're joint in points with Red and Lay's 1 star. So Red and Lay's 1 star are really the two that we're racing against today. As we are in Alsace, I never know how to say it, whether it's Alsace or Alsace. If you know which way, let us know in the comment. But I'm going to go with Alsace. So we're in Alsace today. Only 7 of us racing, and I wasn't able to make it in time for qualifying. I was trying to put my boy to bed at the time, and he was being a little turd. So I missed qualifying, unfortunately. So we're starting from the back of the grid for today. With a 20-minute race, so the way I've worked that out is about 11 laps or so, as we're off to a good start with a false start there as Mr. Navoli gets away to a bad start, and it gives me a chance to capitalise and move up to 6th place. And let's just see how we get on with the first lap, just try and not cause any significant carnage or try and get too involved in too many cars that are all bunched up as we come through now to turn 2, which is just a nice sweeping left-hander where you can just get through there flat out, not having to lift off or anything. As we come down on the inside of Red, and Red going around the outside line, it looks like we've pipped it, made a little bit of contact there, but nothing at all. That's putting neither of us off. As we swing a little wide on this one, actually missed the apex a little bit on that turn and have to come off the accelerator a little bit more than what we would like. And we come down now to this right-hander, hit the apex a bit nicer than Jay. Jay in front of us. Jay lad, we've raced a race. He's been in all the races we've been in the Beetle series. I've enjoyed the battles I've had with Jay. Starting to learn how he kind of races individually, and yeah, he's a fun to race against. This is my favourite turn of the track. This lovely sweeping right-hander. Actually get through here with a bit more speed than Jay, so I had to come off a little bit to make sure I didn't make contact, and I just sort of sit on the outside of him, not really able to make a move here, so I just dropped back and let him take the position, but hoping I just did enough to get in his way, and maybe just cause him a little bit of a distraction, force him into an error, as I still sit up pretty tight up against him. Don't want to get too tight, and we've got Red breathing down our neck as well, so we're in that awkward position again. It looks like we're going to try and take the outside on this, as actually a little bit of contact happens there. Again, nothing too bad, and we're on the inside line, and it looks like we've got that overtake over and done. I think Jay might have even dropped back a little bit there when the contact was made. So that's the end of first lap, and we find ourselves now up in 4th position as we come round into lap 2, coming around turn 1. We've got Lay's 1 star, just due to the fighting I had to do there with Jay. We find ourselves with a bit of a gap now, so we've got 3 seconds to try and climb back on Lay's 1 star. We've actually skipped forward a little bit here. We've skipped into lap 3, ground that time down to about 2 seconds, as Roadrunner Dan actually has an off there on that turn, and affords us an opportunity just to maybe use Dan a little bit, who, I'll be honest, is ahead of me in terms of pace. You know, Dan and Legion are very much, you know, one of the fastest 2 racers in the team, and appreciate them coming down and sort of taking part in tier 2 and stuff, but in terms of trying to beat them in a legitimate race is something that I'm quite realistic about. So, but we're just sitting now in Roadrunner Dan's a slipstream, perhaps just trying to use him to catch up to Lay's 1 star, who really, well, we are racing against in this race. We're just keeping it quite nice, as tight as we can, coming round to turn 2, just start of lap 4. So I've worked this out to be a roughly 11 laps. So we've gone with the strat of pitting in on lap 5, sort of just before halfway. See if we can get the early pits in front of everyone else, and see if that again bears us the same advantage as it seemed to bear us last week when we finished 2nd place at Maggiore. And we're keeping up nicely with Dan here, sitting in that slipstream again. It looks like I've went to slip up on the inside, and looks like I've outbroken myself and given him a chance to get it on the cutback, and I've actually, bit of a foolish move for me now, because I've given Red a chance to push up with me, taking the inferior line and not getting good braking through there, and Red is now pushed up through there as I get a really bad line through, as Dan actually runs wide again and actually gives us a chance to push up past Dan, as me and Red now make a little bit of distance between us and Dan, and Red is just keeping that edge in front as I don't get my best line through there, but we've got plenty of race in front of us to try and push up again against Red. So as you remember, I was saying that Red and Lays One Star really are the two people that I'm personally racing against in this series in terms of points and series standings and stuff. So ideally I want to try and finish in front of these two, but we are quite well matched in terms of pace, all three of us, so it makes for some pretty good racing as we come through in a pack now with Roadrunner Dan still up just behind me, and Red holding his position really well as we come up to what is now the start of lap 5 in a nice little group here. I do plan to go into pits at the end of this lap, so let's see if we can hold this pretty tight. In terms of this track, I do actually quite like this track. I've raced it once before in one of the FIA races, and I think the way I think about it, I love doing laps on this track and I love lapping this track, but it's not the best to race on. Overtaking on it's pretty tricky, as actually I go for the move there, went on the inside, but I just didn't have it and I pulled back and decided to not go for it, because I think I would have just put my nose up on him. So I sat back and still sitting up on him again. Looks like I might be having another go here, sit in the slipstream, go on the inside, and it looks like this time I've done it much better, made that stick really nicely. Has he got the exit speed on me? As Roadrunner Dan actually managed to pit past him as well, and that's the change of the status quo. I moved to 3rd, Dan to 4th, and Red goes up to 5th, as we're all still in quite a nice tight pack there. As Roadrunner Dan runs wide again on the same turn. Not having the best of luck there when it comes to it, but I appreciate he's probably just given us a bit of a race rather than actually putting his everything into it, so I appreciate that. And we're now up in 3rd place, and again, due to this battling we've had to do, we find ourselves a bit further behind Lays One Star, so we're kind of hoping maybe pit strategy or difference in pit might be the thing to make the difference here, in terms of pace, because I was talking to Lays One Star before the race, and my best in practice I could get was kind of like 1:53.5, which you can see my lap times on the right there. I actually managed to match, and I'm not far off that pace. But he was running sort of around the 1:52s. I know he could break that 1:52 barrier, so I knew if he turned up his best, I'd find it hard to keep up with him. As we're going in now to pit, we're going to put in another set of soft tyres, and we're going to put in a little bit of fuel as well. We don't need as much fuel as we did last time. Just need to get up to about 5 laps, maybe a little bit over. So we've just went for just over 5 laps as we come in to the start of lap 6. As we push out now, and we're in 5th position. As Roadrunner Dan actually has another off there. And I think from what I remember when we were in chat, he come out of the pits at the exact same time as somebody else, and it just made it a bit awkward on the exit, from what I remember. But Red's now about 4 seconds up in front of us, and Red went into pit as well, I believe, at the same time, but he come out so much sooner, so he either didn't, so I was thinking at this time, he either didn't change his tyres, or he didn't refuel enough. So we've skipped forward now to what is the end of lap 6, so we only went forward a lap to see what happens now when the pit stops come through. We've had Lays and Legion come in, as we now come through and see if we can get front of Lays One Star, which is what we wanted through the pits. And it looks like we've actually got it. That 4-second difference has been just taken by, maybe I took on a little less fuel. I have really pushed it in terms of the fuel, which I actually hadn't really realised by this point, but a bit does play in when we come down a little bit later into the race. But yeah, fuel, I took on, you know, the minimal amount of fuel that I needed to get to the end of this race, and maybe a Lays One Star just took on a little bit more fuel, trying to be a little bit more cautious, but that has afforded me that 4 seconds worth of difference and managed to draw it back. That alongside the fact that I was running that extra lap on the fresh soft tyres. The only thing we've got to bear in mind is Lays One Star does obviously have the tyre advantage on me now, by not by much, only by 1 lap, but that can make a difference, so I've got to really push to make that gap, as I actually do extend it to, you know, around about a second or so. So it has extended from when I've come out of pit, and red now up by about 4 seconds, but at this point I'm thinking he still might have to pit again. I don't know if he messed up on his fuel or if he hit it by accident, but he did seem to come in and out of those pits really quickly. So he's either going to have to be running on really worn tyres by the end of this, because other softs you're only going to get 5 or 6 laps out of them, and then beyond that he's going to be losing a bunch of pace for his worn tyres, unless he's on mediums, but I hadn't actually caught that. But again, mediums you'd probably only get about 9 or so before you started to lose it. So yeah, it's going to be interesting here to see if red has to make another pit stop. If he does, we've got a potential to move up to 2nd place. Roadrunner Dan seems to have slipped back into 6th place. I think he's... Oh, and Lays actually catches the wall there, which is a... honestly, on this track, it is a pain, that wall. I've been caught there a couple times in the past, and nothing worse, because you just stick to it, and that doesn't really make a huge amount of sense. But we'll skip forward now to what is the end of lap 8. So we just went forward a little bit now, and red's come into pit. And you can see there he's only got 3% worth of fuel, so yeah, he has misjudged the fuel, or maybe this was his strategy to go in once, change tyres, and go in again and change fuel. But it seems to me he might have just made a mistake. But that's given us the opportunity now to move up to 2nd place, which, if we can hold this together, will be another great result, another podium. Especially since we started the game at the back. Now we're coming round now to the end of lap 10. I have changed the view slightly here. I know it doesn't look the cleanest in the world, but I've actually put my fuel on the bottom right, as I hadn't really been paying a huge amount of attention to it. And then I come around to the last lap and noticed I was on 0.6 worth of fuel. I had a choice to make, which was go into pit or go into rapid fuel saving. So you can see I've changed the fuel to be a lean, so we're using as little fuel as possible to power the engine, and I'm going to be short shifting to hell to make sure that I can finish this race. You can see I've got myself, the reason why I've decided not to pit is I've got I had about a 9-second gap on Lay's 1-star in front, so that really gave me the thought that I could grind down that gap using as much fuel saving as possible. So when we're fuel saving, we're short shifting as much as we can. I think even towards the end of this I start quarter shifting, and even just, you know, a 0 shifting, if you call it that. And in general I try and go through turns in a slightly higher gear. That, you know, that really helps in a severe fuel saving. And you can see there we've got about 0.4 laps of fuel remaining, so with fuel saving okay. You can see Lay's 1-star's really pulled up that gap, and it's sitting about 4.5 seconds, so you can tell how much slower I'm going now. And it is very much on purpose to fuel save, to make sure I've got that fuel to last me through to the end of the race. But I did catch myself a little bit on it. I knew I was running a bit short on fuel, which did obviously pay the work out in the sense that I got in front of Lay's 1-star through the pits. So it worked out to advantage, and it will work out if I can just hold this together, which looks like I'm coming to the end of the lap now. You can see how much I've fuel saved. I've used about 0.3 laps of fuel in that one lap, which first time I've been really challenged with fuel saving before in that kind of way, but I was fortunate to have that kind of gap in front of Lay's 1-star to absorb it, and I come now to the final straight with 2 seconds left as a gap and about 2% worth of fuel. So that's great news, but you can see I had to sacrifice about a 10 seconds worth of pace there in order to get there. So yeah, that's the end of the first race. Really pleased with that. With a 2nd place. I know Dan probably towards the end of it probably just wasn't putting his heart into it, but I'll take it where it comes. And 2nd place finish. So moving on to the next race, then we will be doing a reverse grid of the previous race. So that's the way this series works. So first race is based on the qualifying sessions, and the second race is a reverse grid based on the first session. So we'll be going next to the reverse grid race. So bearing in mind I finished in 2nd place in the first race, means I'll be starting a second from the back in this race, which is actually 1 place in front of my last race anyway, because I started from the back in last race. So it's 2 races from the back, but with not a huge amount of cars on track. It means, you know, you still got room to move up pretty high up if you put in a good race. So we're going to get away again to our second race, reverse grid. So I've got Legion right behind me, and one of the front runners, and we've got some of the slower guys up towards the top. As Red gets away to a bad starter there, and affords me the opportunity just to move up even a couple of places I might be able to get here. No, unfortunately Legion's managed to get away to a better start, and he's already gone up, pushing up into 4th and 5th place. So I'm going to be battling at the back here a little bit, trying to establish myself in front of the guys that I know that I'm racing against. I think I've said this in the previous, as actually Red takes up the inside on me, but coming round this turn it means that I'm on the inside on the next corner, so I should be able to keep 6th place. And this is the tricky thing with the reverse grid, is in general the people in front of you are going to be slower than you, meaning that, you know, if you hold back too much on them, you're going to have people attacking you from behind who in general are faster than you. It's a really cool way of having a race. I'm really enjoying these reverse grids. So yeah, we've now find ourselves in 5th position as Mr. Navoli seemed to drop off there, and we managed to get past him. And we're just behind Lay's 1 star. And as I said before, in terms of the series, Lay's 1 star and Lay's 1 star and Red are really the two that I'm trying to beat in these races. As I said, we're quite well matched pace for pace, and I get a much better line through that one there. We're quite well matched pace for pace, and we're pretty close to each other in terms of the standings. So certainly these are the guys that I'm racing against. As we come round now to the hard hairpin, the tightest braking zone in this lap, I think. There's still quite a tight pack in front of us, made up of Jay, Legion and Lays. So not trying to get too involved, but I don't want to drop off from them as well, because there's a lot of cars there. And if I can make a move and move up a little bit, and if there's an opportunity or a mistake, I'll try and seize that opportunity. But as you can see there, had a little bit of a look up on Lays, but even though I always get past him, to be in the middle of that bunch, you're just going to get attacked back anyway. So kind of waiting for a mistake or waiting for people to set into their places. Mr. Navoli still running up behind me, but not enough yet to make a threat. As we are now coming to the start of lap 2, coming through turn 2, the sweeping left-hander where you can just go straight through again, and then we've got this much tighter right-hander. As we go up on the inside, Lays gets a bad line through there, and he actually kicks out a little bits and loses it. He managed to hold it on the track, well done from him there, not to lose it completely, but it has afforded me the opportunity to move up now to J-Lad, who I'm actually going for the earlier, well, I don't think this attack, this is me going up on the outside, looking for the cutback on him, which he holds it really, really well there, so not able to make the move this time. But we're going to try and keep up with J-Lad as much as we can, keep up on him. And again, try and afford ourselves the opportunity to get past him. And again, I'm not really holding up a huge amount of hope of getting up to Dan or Legion's pace, but if I can get in front of these guys here, I'll be a happy boy. As we come round now to the hard hairpin. Always a bit sure about the braking on this turn. Probably go a bit conservative. Actually, I almost make a knock on Jay there. I usually go a bit conservative when I'm obviously coming in behind people. I like that. So I set my marker a little bit earlier. As he makes a little clip on the wall there, so it's going to afford me an opportunity just to pull up a little bit on him. Not that much, as you can see, and again, I'm just being aware of not hitting him off or anything, so I'm just going to ease myself through here. As again, almost make a bit of contact there, but managed to ease off okay as we come through. I do find Jay a bit hard to read. He does take slightly different racing lines than me. As I look up on the inside there, actually, and it looks like that's where I've made my move. And is he going to get the cut back on me? I don't think he is. He hasn't got the exit speed, and it looks like I've made that move and got myself up to 3rd. And now really what I've got to try and do is get my head down and see if I can develop this gap between myself, J-Lad and Lay's 1 star, and really cement myself in 3rd place. I'm going with the same strategy as I did in the last race, so we're going to be pitting again around about lap 5. But it's still pretty tight between us all, but I'm holding it pretty well. As you can see, the gap between us and Lays is starting to grow a little bit, and that's what I'm hoping to see, and that's what I want to be doing. And the gap between us and Legion, although not insurmountable, will be growing. I'm not naive to that. So we can see now we've moved up now to lap 4, end of lap 4. We have moved up that gap between us and Lay's 1 star to about 3 seconds, so that's really nice. And you can see Legion and Dan have extended their gap up to about 4.5 seconds, so I am a little bit off their pace. I'm not far off it, which actually genuinely quite surprised me, but you know, not quite there, as they have actually gone in for what I thought at the time was a really early pit. You can see they were just coming up to the end of lap 4 and they've gone in. And I thought this was perhaps a strategy they were doing at the time, but it turned out when it got to later in the race, they sort of said in chat they thought they'd gone in on lap 5, but no, they went in lap 4. So that's actually moved me up to first place. Again, I'm realistic about what this means in terms of the race. I'm not going to be trying to win this race, but it is nice to set up there anyway. So, got to bear in mind, I've got Roadrunner down behind us, 2.5 seconds or so. He's got a fresh set of tyres. Mine are boarding it as we speak. So again, if Dan was to catch up with me this lap and he was to get in behind me, I would open the door. I would leave the door wide open for him, and that's the way that I race. I race against the people that I know that I'm paced with, because there's no point me sitting for half a lap trying to defend myself against Legion and Dan, slowing myself down and giving a Lay's 1 star the chance to close that gap that I managed to build. So, you know, when you do see me race and you ever see me purposely concede a place to somebody, 9 times out of 10 that's the reason why, because I know for a fact it's just going to hurt me in the long run trying to defend against somebody who I know is faster than me. As you can see, we've got pretty worn tyres there, misjudged that braking a little bit and run that turn a little bit wide. Again, I've always found that turn a little bit hard to judge. I'm quite au fait with the rest of this track. I feel like this is one of my stronger tracks actually, but that hairpin in particular I've always really struggled with. Last time I raced here was in the Aston Martin DB R9. As Roadrunner Dan, you can see, he's right up against me now, but don't have to ride too much because I'm about to come into pit. So I'm gonna go in and get myself on some softs, put in a bit more fuel. I'll probably get. I remember this time I told myself I was going to do about half a lap or 1 lap more fuel than last time, just to make sure. So you can see I've gone up to 5.6 as opposed to 5 that I went to last time. Just that little bit extra that I kind of had to fuel save last time, and it just means that I can just really push it without under race. So I come out now in 4th with Red behind me and Lay's in the pits as well. So this is looking good for me. We've got Jay about 4.5 seconds in front of me, but again, he hasn't been into pit yet, so I'm looking good to be able to hold on to that 3rd position, providing I don't have any major slip-ups or major mistakes or start losing my pace majorly. As we now come round to what is the end of lap 6, as I just skip forward a little bit of time there. And I believe Jay should be looking to go into pits now, as yeah, he's gone into pit, so that's allowed us to move up now to 3rd place. See if we can hold this 3rd place. I'll be really pleased, you know, to finish with 2 podiums this week. I know there's only 7 people on the track, so the chance of win, you know, increases when there's less people on track. But you got to take those little victories where you can, and if I can keep it together and not have an off as well, because you know the past 2 weeks I've had at least 1 off on one of the 2 races, which is kind of lost me the race. You know, the first one we did, I want to say it was at Autopolis, I think it was. You know, we had a spin off and that ruined my 2nd race. And then last week at Amajore, we had an off on the 2nd race, and that ruined that one. Oh, no, sorry, we had an off on the 1st race, and that ruined that one. So it's unfortunate. But you can see we've skipped forward now to what is halfway through lap 11. You can see my actual gap between Legion and Dan is actually really close. And the reason why that is because, like I said, they actually went into pits 1 pit early and didn't realise. They were 1 lap short of fuel, so they had to come in both for a pit in lap 10. So they'd worked up such a gap that, yeah, me coming up behind them, they still had time to pit, so they're definitely ahead of me in terms of pace. But you can see that gap between myself and Red, 12 seconds off. Something must have happened to Lay's 1 star in that 2nd race to make him drop off a little bit. It's a nice and comfortable gap and plenty of fuel this time, so nothing to worry about there. As we come round now to the last couple turns, a little twist in the chicane. Again, I do quite like this track. Like I said, it's just a tricky one to race on because the overtaking opportunities are few and far between on this track. But as Legion and Dan come over the line, myself comes through now and secures myself the third place. So really pleased with today's racing. Like I said, my aim was to try and compete with Red and Lay's 1-star, and I managed to finish in front of them on both of the races. I managed to grab myself 2 podiums with a second place finish and a third place finish. So yeah, really enjoying this series, really looking forward to taking part of it, and I'm really pleased that my strategy of popping on the KFC livery as a method of distraction is really working. So I can't show you the standings in terms of what they are now. I have to wait until they're released by the team, so I'll bring you the standings probably at the start of each race as opposed to the end of each race. So I'll bring them up when they do, but I'll put them out on my Twitter and stuff, so don't forget to follow me on Twitter and all that kind of jazz. But if you enjoyed today's video, don't forget to like, subscribe, all that other stuff people on YouTube ask you to do. Just think about me asking you the same questions, and that's what we're doing. And that's the end of today's video. So thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys really soon. Alright, cheers.